What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris Moore, and in today's video we got an interesting, I guess you would say, bike that we're going to be tuning and talking about and comparing to another bike. This bike, a 2021 Honda CBR650. So this is an entry-level bike that is a very popular seller, and it also goes up against the Kawasaki Ninja 650, which is also a very popular bike for newer riders. This thing is different though, and when I say different, I mean the Kawasaki has 2 cylinders, this one has 4 cylinders, even though they're the same size engine. So we're gonna see how this thing does. We're gonna overlay the dyno graphs from one to the other and compare these things up. We're gonna test the top speed. We're gonna do all these things in order to see which is gonna be the entry-level bike for you. Stay with us guys, here we go. Alright guys, so here we go on this CBR650. Let's talk about the modifications that are going into it. This customer purchased a eBay full exhaust. When I say eBay full exhaust, I mean it doesn't really have a brand. He got it off eBay. It was only like 400 and something bucks, he said, and all the other brands were like $1,000. So we're going to compare. I don't really have a comparison between an expensive exhaust and this exhaust, but we're going to see how this bike does with this exhaust system. I've ran the bike already on the dyno just to kind of warm everything up, take a look, make sure everything was functioning right. And I did notice that the bike was pretty lean cruising around. That means not getting enough fuel. So we're going to correct all that. As far as modification goes, he has this exhaust, he has a K&N air filter, and he has the OEM Honda quick shifter. Now that OEM Honda quick shifter was only 250 bucks, which in my opinion is a killer deal. This whole bike seems like a pretty good starter bike. So let's see how much power we can get out of this thing and how much better we can make it. Baseline pull coming up now. Here we go, the baseline pull. Let's see what this thing does in stock configuration. We're gonna run it in 5th gear for our horsepower test. Then we're gonna run it in 6th gear to see what the top mile per hour is. Then we're gonna see how much restriction in this ECU is holding it back from top speed. Pulls. Let's take a look at what we got pulled up. So first off, we're going to put it in RPM scale, and then we're going to look at the blue one is our 5th gear run, and the second one is our 6th gear run. So it made a little bit more in 6th versus in 5th, but let's look at what we got going on. So we got a pretty good power curve. Let's turn our torque reading on. We got 21 foot-pounds of torque and 83 horsepower. So you can see the bike pulls really good up until, let's see, what is this? About 11,000 RPMs, okay? As soon as it goes to 11,000 RPMs, this thing kind of dies off. And if you listen real closely in the video, if you missed it, go back and watch it again. You'll hear the thing. In other words, it's hitting what they call a soft cut limiter. And the soft cut limiter is not stopping it from pulling, but it's definitely cutting it back, because you can see this thing hits a little brick wall and then it slowly pulls on out here to the end, okay? If we put this thing over in wheel speed and we see how fast it went, we went 140 miles per hour, 138 in fifth gear, and the thing did 160 miles per hour, 158.9 in sixth gear, which is pretty good in my opinion for what this bike is. I can't remember what a Ninja 650 does. I don't think it's quite that fast though. Now, does this mean that your bike is gonna go 160 miles per hour with you on it? No, there's things that come into play with this, such as wind, such as gear ratio, such as weight of the rider. There's a lot of things that come into effect of this, especially when you have a bike that only makes 21 foot-pounds of torque. So these are theoretical numbers, okay? Don't go out and say, oh, Chris said my bike will go 160 miles per hour. If you weigh 260 pounds, it's probably not gonna happen, guys. All right, let's do some tuning on this thing. Let's get rid of the top speed limiter. Let's go through this ECU, get all the stuff taken care of. First thing we're gonna do, disable that top speed limiter. We're gonna disable the codes for the exhaust valve, for the O2 sensor. We're gonna get rid of that stuff, and then we're gonna start dialing in the fuel on this thing to get it as perfect as possible. All right, guys, we just finished up with a tune on this CBR650. I almost called it a Ninja 650. Anyways, we just finished it up, 85 horsepower and 43 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I know earlier when we pulled up the initial run, I had said the thing had, what, 21 foot-pounds of torque. That's because I made a slight mistake. I had the RPM scaling set wrong. It said we went 22,000 RPMs instead of 11,000 RPMs. So anyways, it cut the torque in half. So 21 plus 21, 42. Anyways, we ended up with 43.9 foot-pounds of torque. Overall, pretty good numbers gained, okay? Another thing that we were able to do that I didn't like is we extended the RPMs, but it still has that soft cut rev limiter. There is no way to get rid of it. I played with every possible adjustment. There is no way to get rid of that soft cut rev limiter. So we took the top speed limiter off, but that soft cut rev limiter kicks in, and in my opinion, I didn't like holding it past 11.5. So if you have one of these bikes, me personally, don't rev it past 11.5, because you can see how the thing kind of nosedives right here. When we put this into RPM scale, you see at 11,000 RPMs, this is where it makes its peak. And then after that, it's starting to fall off. So really, if you shifted it like 11, 11.2, that's gonna put you in the meat of the power, and that's gonna do much, much better. You see, you make your peak torque here around 8,000 RPMs. Now that we got that out of the way, let me pull up a run from a Ninja 650 here, show you what it does, and I think it's pretty significant, the difference. There's a Ninja 650 versus a CBR 650, twin cylinder engine versus an inline four. Now, I do realize there is a pretty big price difference in these two bikes as well. You be the judge of that. Which one is worth it? Do you have a Ninja 650? Do you have a CBR 650? Have you ever raced a Ninja 650 or a CBR 650? Comment in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed today's video, if you have one of these bikes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. There's plenty more action where this came from. Be sure to smash that like button, click the bell for notifications. Check us out at mooremafia.com. If you have one of these bikes and want to send your ECU in to get it flashed, we were able to gain a couple horsepower on this thing, not huge power gains, but it did smooth out the on and off throttle and make the bike ride way better. The air fuel on this thing is pretty lean. It needed about 10 to 15% more fuel than stock cruising around. So I think this thing is gonna ride a million times better. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna take it out in the parking lot. Let's go ride this thing and just see. I've ridden quite a few Ninja 650s because I flash a lot of those. Let's see how this thing rides and compares. Before we get this thing off the dyno, there is one thing I wanted to point out to you that you do have to do if you get your ECU flashed. You see right there is the O2 sensor. It's got a little wire here. You tug on the little wire and find where it goes to. It goes to right in there. Okay, you can see I can pull this rubber back on it. You see it is 4 wires. That must be unplugged after we flash the ECU. Take a long flathead screwdriver, push up on that little button right there and give it a slight tug. Now your O2 sensor is unplugged. It will stay unplugged forever. So just kind of tuck it back up in there like it's plugged in, but it'll just stay like that. You can see the blank plug. You can see the loose end is just up in there. It's got a couple zip ties to hold it so it can never fall down, but that has to be done, okay? The O2 sensor is telling the bike to run lean. We are telling the bike to run richer so it would drive smoother. We don't want the two arguing with each other. We have disabled the check engine light for the O2 sensor, so you don't have to worry about that. So I just got back from taking the bike for a test ride. The thing pulls really good in the mid to high RPMs. I can feel that once this thing gets past about 6,000 or 7,000, it really takes off. To me, the Ninja 650 feels a little bit stronger on the bottom end. So just when you're cruising around, say 3,000, 4,000, hit it, whoop, you know, the kind of initial setback feels more torquey, I guess, and that's because of that parallel twin, just the design of the engine. So anyways, comment in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Have you ridden both? Have you ridden one of these versus the other one? Let me know what your thoughts are. This is gonna be a good topic and debate. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. This video coming up next, GSX S1000 2022 model. The first one in the United States to ever be tuned, guys. Yeah, that's right. We had to send this ECU off, have it cut open, and have the ECU read and diagnosed. That's what we do here at Moore Mafia, guys. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.